If you've been inspired by my video posts or you're already booked on a trip to Southeast Asia, then this video will help you plan. I'm going to give some tips I picked up along the way, along with details of the tours I took. You can get full details of those tours and where I stayed in an interactive pack. It's available at goggleguide.com. Let's start off with some of the basics. Now, I visited in February. That's the back end of the cooler season. Early morning, it's maybe a little bit cold, but once the sun's up, it's fine. You won't need a woolly jumper. Or in terms of clothes, you'll need to pack some long trousers. Temples, palaces and museums, they won't let you in if knees and shoulders aren't covered. Now, if you're taking anything electrical, then pretty much everywhere I went had sockets that look like these. You see, they'll take the sort of British plugs and European too, although on the odd occasion, it's only the European option available. USB charging points are really commonplace as well. Generally, it's the older USB-A fitting. There's no Uber. The local equivalent is Grab, and the Grab app is so simple to install and use. Book anything from motorbikes, tuk-tuks and cars to food delivery. Getting cash is simple too. There are plenty of ATMs in the cities, but some smaller banks don't accept foreign cards, so you might also be restricted on how much you can withdraw. Also on money, when you're paying for something by card, you know, the machines where you put your card in and put your PIN number, well, where the PIN numbers display, they're all jumbled up, and every time that machine's used, it's all in a different order. It's really clever, actually. It kind of stops people seeing what you're doing and nicking your PIN. Finally, let's talk toilets. Toilets are Western style, but reach behind you to the right and you'll find a pressurised hose for post-activity cleaning. Just aim and fire. Then there's toilet paper for drying. There's probably enough of that. Saigon was renamed after the communist leader Ho Chi Minh, who led the Viet Cong against the American army. Locally he's known as Uncle Ho. And there are symbols of the Socialist Republic almost everywhere, and they sit alongside some familiar brands. I felt totally safe in Vietnam, but Vietnam is a one-party state where freedom of speech is restricted, so sometimes there's maybe a little awkwardness with foreigners. Just avoid talking politics. Most of the people I met spoke at least a little English, but if they didn't, they'd have their phone set to Google Translate. I installed the app. It's really simple. Can you take me to the airport?
Bạn có thể đưa tôi ra sân bay được không?
Yep, that's just what I meant. It's a long slog to drive out of Ho Chi Minh City, and downtown is absolutely full of motorcycles, and I mean full. Scooters, operators, taxis, just book on Grab and hop on. When I visited in January 2025, the first Ho Chi Minh City metro line had been open less than a month. And with only one line, it's pretty easy to navigate. Just buy a ticket from the machines or ticket office, take your QR code receipt and scan the receipt to get in, but keep it safe as you'll need it to get out again at the other end. One thing I wish I'd really learned before arriving is the currency. Here's my way of working out what things cost in Vietnam. I have rounded up and down a little, so don't take things too literally. The Vietnamese currency is the Vietnamese dong. The good news is the numbers on notes are in English, but converting the dong is a little more challenging. A British pound buys you 33,000 dong. So let's forget the 1,000 for a moment, because if 1,000 dong is only 3p, we won't have sleepless nights over a penny here or there. And quite often in Vietnam, the prices don't have the thousands on them anyway. So here is 100,000 dong. First of all, lose 1,000. Okay, so lose 1,000 and it's 100. Then divide by 10 to give you 10 and divide by 3. So your 100,000 dong is £3 and a bit. That's my formula. Lose the thousands, divide by 10, divide by 3. So if something's £1,000,000 dong, that sounds like an awful lot of money. Use the formula. Lose the thousands, so dividing 1,000,000 by 1,000 is 1,000. Divide by 10, so that's 100, and divide by 3. So 1,000,000 dong is just over £33. Finally, I've got 100, 20, 30, 40, 50. I've got 152,000 dong. Okay, lose the thousands and it's 152. Divide by 10, it's just over 15, and divide by 3, so it's 5. So this is about £5, okay? But also, they'll happily take these off you. Yes, the American dollar. They'll give you a price very quickly if you want to pay in dollars. I spent just 2 days in Ho Chi Minh, and as well as my city vlog, I managed to squeeze in a couple of trips. The Cu Chi tunnels are high on the tourist list. It's absolutely fascinating to see how the Viet Cong operated and the terrible conditions they had to endure, the very, very grim man traps they used, but also the ingenuity to reuse captured American equipment. But I did give the gun shooting experience a miss. For me, it was just a step too far. My tunnel trip was for a small group of 8, but with a tight schedule, I decided the next day to book a private tour to the Mekong Delta. The day did start early though. I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning and the drive south was over 3 hours, but really well worth it. The Mekong stretches from Tibet to Vietnam, and here I'm just 100 miles from where it meets the South China Sea. 40 minutes along the river and the floating market is my destination. Time for breakfast. The beauty of taking a private tour is that I can hop aboard this floating restaurant. Not too sure what the meat is though. It smells great, but eating soup with chopsticks on a rocking boat is a challenge. But I made it, and absolutely no spillage. Our second stop of the day is Ben Tre, and time for a cup of honey tea. You can even see the bees making the honey. And then the paddle boats. The 20-minute journey really is pure picture postcard stuff. The scenery, the wildlife, the vegetarian, it's all just absolutely amazing. There are a few options to get to Phnom Penh. The most popular is to fly, but I decided to book a bus and the pickup was at the Giant Ibis. Now, I've stayed in many Ibis hotels over the years and they've all been pretty big, so this one must be really huge. But after an hour of dragging my bag around the streets, I found the Giant Ibis. It isn't a hotel, it's a travel company using the national bird of Cambodia as a logo, the Giant Ibis. But the coach itself was superb, comfortable reclining seats, even power sockets. And although my Cambodian visa was an e-visa, I thought best to bring a printed copy. It's a good 3-hour journey to the border crossing, and then 2 hours standing in the queue as others jumped the line. They were passing a little financial gift in the form of dollar bills. Does help. Now, the Cambodian currency is the Riel. Some banknotes can look very similar, so do be careful, and the value is written in Cambodian. But here's my quick currency calculation, although I've rounded it up and down, so again it's a guide. To keep it simple, a British pound buys 5,000 Riel. To work out what something costs, take the price in Riel, remove the thousands and divide it by 5. So if a hotel room is 200,000 Riel, remove the 1,000, get 200, divide 200 by 5, and it's £40. But if you want to pay in US dollars, well, the prices are nearly always displayed in dollars as well. So use dollars, but you might get your change in Riel, so you keep your wits about you. After a really long day on the Giant Ibis bus, I arrived in Phnom Penh in the midst of neon lights and tacky bars. Hostesses beckoning punters in, with European men following like lambs. But away from all the bustle, there's still some peace. And in the morning, my hotel gave me a great view of the city, with time to relax and reflect. I had a wonderful couple of days in Phnom Penh and enjoyed it much more than I thought I would, but I'd planned my Cambodian visit to be split between the capital in the southeast and then a 2-day stop in Siem Reap in the northwest. There are a few options to make the journey from one to the other. My initial choice was to take a boat across the Tonle Sap Lake, but that could be a day of just looking at water. Having done the travel by bus to get to Cambodia, I opted for a private hire car. It is an 11-hour trip with a few stops, and those stops were quite an eye-opener. For my first taste of the temples of Cambodia, a tour guide hopped into my car and then proceeded to tell me some really strange jokes.
Why you go to restroom?
I don't know. Why do you go to the restroom?
Because the restroom do not come to you.
But apart from the jokes, these temples were impressive and really tell the history of Cambodia. Now, I wasn't sure if this market was for tourists or locals. It's stalls selling every type of insect you could imagine. Apparently the town was infested with spiders in the 1970s and starving inhabitants began to eat spiders during the famine brought about by the Khmer Rouge. Fried tarantula. Not for me, I think. Back on the road, rural life and some absolutely breathtaking scenery. In Siem Reap, my hotel was quite a find. It was out of town, quiet and relaxing. But downtown things were very, very different. It felt like tourist hell. Tomb Raider was filmed in this area, and Angelina Jolie's signature cocktail is everywhere. Tourists flock to this area for one reason and one reason alone: Angkor Wat. It's actually a complex of many temples, not just Angkor. It's a bit like visiting theme parks in Florida, with a pass valid for 1, 3 or 7 days. But there are a few things to know before you visit the area. These are temples, so long trousers and covered shoulders please. And it can be quite strenuous. I felt like Indiana Jones at times in some of the temples. Here's an example. First, up the steep stone steps and across the stepping stones. This wooden ladder is steep, but at least there are handrails, because then the really big one, the steep steps, they're slippery too, and absolutely nothing to grab onto. It's the same way down, but that's even more difficult. For £15, I'd booked a private tuk-tuk for the entire day, and we visited so many temples. Some were just piles of rubble. Here's one of those Indiana Jones moments. You can watch temples being swallowed up by huge trees. At what was once Hindu temples have been converted to Buddhist. The main attraction and the biggest temple is of course Angkor Wat. I'd chosen to visit Angkor Wat at sunrise. That meant my tuk-tuk picking me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Then waiting for the sun to slowly come up. The golden hour started at 6, and at 6:30 the temple doors open. It's a very, very busy place. But around the back, it's a different story. There's peace and tranquility. But it's still a very impressive place, whichever side you see it from. And so much to see. In my quest to make it from Ho Chi Minh City to Bangkok overland, I mapped out a route going by bus to the Thai border from Siem Reap, and then train to Thailand's capital. It's another early morning start with a tuk-tuk at 5, and a nice clean minibus for the 3-hour journey to the border town of Phoi Phet. Now, I'd read about Phoi Phet. It was referred to as a dirty, dusty and dangerous town. The only reasons to visit is either to gamble or smuggle, and I think they were right. One word of caution here: make sure you have another printed copy of your e-visa and the entry card you got when you entered Cambodia. Without both, you'll struggle to get out. Once you are, it's a short walk across the Friendship Bridge, follow the signs, and then this. 2 hours of staying in a baking hot room with signs stating a no gift policy, so there's no way of jumping the queue by parting with $1 or 2. But you do eventually get through, and a warm welcome to Thailand, although I'm not too sure what the 12th irregular regiment is. Now let me explain the Thai currency. It's called the Thai Baht, and it looks like this. And a British pound buys you 40 Thai Baht. So here's my calculator. Remember, it's a guide, an estimate, it's not to the penny. My method is to take the price in Baht, divide by 10 and divide by 4. So here's 1,000 Baht, divide by 10, it's 100, divide by 4, it's 25. So this is £25. And this is 620 Baht. Yep, 620 Baht. Divide by 10, 62, divide by 4, 15 and a half, so £15.50. But be careful if you're travelling through the region. I was in a restaurant in Cambodia in Siem Reap, and I was supposed to get my change 4,000 Cambodian Riel, about 80p. Instead, they gave me 4,000 Thai Baht, which is £100, and because they use the same numbers, I didn't even notice, but I would have given it back. Time for Thai food, even if I do have to gatecrash a group of Cambodian monks. How do you tell the difference between a Thai monk and a Cambodian monk? Simple. Look at their passport. Sorry, I picked up the bad jokes from my guide across the border in Cambodia. Now, the border crossing is right next to the station, and there are 2 trains a day from Ban Klong Luk to Bangkok, 6:58 in the morning and 2:50 in the afternoon. It's a 5-hour journey, and the price is 49 baht. Quick conversion time, divide by 10, 4.9, divide by 4, so the price in British pounds is £1.20 for a 5-hour journey. This young chap seems to enjoy playing under the train, but he's spotted me and he has spotted my camera. This could be tricky. He is fast. Once on board, I seem to have a problem with the window too. They've managed it okay, but for me, it's just not budging. So let's see what else there is on the train. the catering car, and there's an endless stream of food sellers marching through the carriages. Monks? And this is called a halt. It's like a station, but not. Air conditioning, sort of. Oh, and there are no doors. Now, I'd already chosen to split my journey, but not sure this is what I had in mind. Back on the Bangkok-bound train, the scenery begins to change until we reach our destination. The train really was an experience, but nothing compared with what was to come. Stepping out into one of the world's busiest cities, this is Bangkok. And the first thing that hits you about Bangkok is its sheer size. The buildings, the roads and traffic, all so intense, with single shops and massive malls. And right through the city centre flows the Chao Phraya River. Although English is widely spoken in Thailand, it's not unusual, even in a big city like Bangkok, to find yourself where they don't. And that can be quite problematic when it comes to ordering food. You can see the prices. Personally, I just make a random choice and wait to be surprised with what they bring. Bangkok's MRT trains are clean, smooth and quiet. There are 4 lines and it's so simple to get about. I'm here on the Blue Line, and on the map it's called BL for Blue Line. Here's my station. It's station number 1, so I'm at BL1. Platform signs show you the direction of travel, and I'm headed towards BL26. Then in-carriage signs show each station. I've arrived at BL22. Single ride charges range from 17 to 45 baht. Platform markings laid out. People really do follow them. It makes things so much easier. And when a busy train arrives, there's no pushing or shoving. And if you're hitting the shops, tunnels take you directly from your platform. Bangkok's iconic longtail boats are available for private hire, but I opted for the public transport service. There are quite a few different boats, lines and routes. Each of the boats is identified by their flag colour. This one with the orange flag, you see the flag at the stern? That's the Chao Phraya Express. It stops at all the main tourist locations, so it's a good starter. And the fare, just 40 Thai baht. Watching and listening to how the crew communicate is also fascinating. They use a sequence of whistle calls to tell the captain what to do, and I guess what not to do. Back ashore, time to find my accommodation. I've opted for an Airbnb. I'm getting a little concerned about what I've actually booked. This is looking more promising. Is she being kidnapped? But now I'm in, and what a view. The bed overlooks the river. There's even a washing machine, just in time, I feel. 40 years ago, I'd run through Thailand on my quest to run around the world, and it was in Bangkok that I first came across hashing. The sport is loosely based on hare hunting, but with human hares, setting a trail that hashers and harriettes, they're the ladies, follow. I went online and found 6 hash kennels in Bangkok. They run all different days. And this group have been hashing every Saturday since 1977. There are hashers of all nationalities, ages and abilities. They follow a trail through the most obscure of places, following secret signs, to get to the finish line. Now, I couldn't have come up with anything further from hashing than what I did for my second trip of the weekend. I jumped in a grab taxi, headed north out of the city to Wat Phra Dhammakaya. It's a temple complex that is totally surreal. It's the home to the largest temple in the world. First started in 1970, now has over 150 buildings, a dining hall for 6,000 monks, capacity for 150,000 in the assembly hall alone, a 6-sided golden pyramid, housing for 4,000 monks, 300,000 life-size Buddhas, and space for 1 million people. It's got a statue weighing 1 ton made of solid gold, and it's a venue for ordaining 100,000 monks each and every year. To be honest, try Googling Wat Phra Dhammakaya. There's quite a lot of controversy surrounding the temple, but to me it was just odd. And on that note, that's the end of this trip. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and if you're planning your own journey, then I also hope some of my tips will help you get set. See you next time.